Hi, everyone. This is the East Tennessee Group. Do we normally say that in the beginning?
We do.
We do.
Yeah.
East Tennessee Group of United Real Estate. And so we have spoken in the past about what we need to do to win offers at the moment, what we're doing that's a little bit extra, what we're doing to make sure that our clients are, getting the homes or the investment cabins that they want. And we've spoken about escalation clauses, appraisal gaps, all sorts of other things. So I thought it would be interesting to maybe talk a little bit about the other side of the coin, because it is not true to say that in all cases people have to pay over asking, right? I mean, we're still winning contracts. In fact, Charlene, I think you just said that you just won one and you were $20,000 under asking price.
Yeah, and
so
then another one right at asking. So
okay, so let's talk a little bit about what that looks like in this market. When are the opportunities to do something like that?
I know for me, especially in this one situation, and I have a lot of buyers who have said, we know what the market is. It's crazy. I still don't want to overpay. And I have encouraged that. And I am, in my true nature, a very frugal person. I will say I'm cheap, but I will say frugal is the better word. I do not like, and you ask my husband, you ask anybody, I do not like to spend more than I have to. So I really try to encourage my buyers when they say that, okay, then let's stick to our guns. Let's make sure that we know the value, because it is a huge purchase and it has to be one that you are comfortable with. So with this recent situation, it was my buyer is in the banking world, and I said, I have to mention, but what if we got into one and the appraisal was low? And she said, I will be shot dead if I were to pay an appraisal gap. I will not do it. Got it. Not going to happen.
Right.
But again, she was just very, very set on, I want to pay the value of what it's actually worth. So we had put in multiple offers, been over asking. We've gotten beat out by cash.
Right.
And then this home popped up and everybody said, it's a great home. It's priced way too high.
Okay.
Let's go in. Let's have a solid still cash offer. Let's have a great communication with the agent to know what kind of turnaround they want. We're good with the discovery only on our inspection. So we worked with the agent to see again what the seller needed, but then we were really frank. It's priced too high. It will not appraise. Well, we'll do the appraisal. You guys can do that. We're not going to do that. Here's our offer. We know it's strong. And we actually were able to win the home, and it never went into multiple offers, because I think too is, I hope the realtors in this area, we're learning that we don't have to. And more people are willing to say, well, then it's not the house for me. They are backing away. They are slowing down a little bit and not jumping in head over heels with something that is way overpriced.
Yeah. I think that right now what we see a lot of is sellers want to get the most amount of money. They don't want to leave a single cent on the table, and I'm the same way. I get it. But sometimes they do start so high that it's just, like what happened to you, it's unrealistic. And, I always tell all of my buyers up front that real estate is a game of leverage, and who has the leverage, if you've got a property that you're trying to sell and you don't have any offers, then the buyer has the leverage. If, you've got a property that 10 people want, then the seller has the leverage. Right. So, I always tell everyone, like, look, if there's a property that's on the market and there's no offers, let's negotiate. Let's see if we can get you a better deal on it. And what I'm finding now is those are the properties that you are getting, for under. And as far as appraisals go, I mean, I've kind of had the same experience. Like, I have a lot of clients that don't want to do an appraisal gap either. They want to use that appraisal as protection so that they don't overpay. And that's what I tell everyone, is that every offer we write, unless you tell me otherwise, is going to be contingent on the appraisal.
Right.
So just, I think that's a good thing to kind of calm buyers down, because it's like, look, you have a professional that's a non-biased party that's telling you what the property's worth.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I will tell you from a investment perspective, what has happened is the prices are being driven up by the rental income. That's what's driving the prices up. Rental income is going up. Last year was a phenomenal year.
Sure, yeah.
And so what's happening is what investors are willing to pay versus what something is actually worth. And when I say worth, I'm talking about from a more residential perspective, where we talk about square footage wise. It's different. And so there are cabins on the market that are, and I hate to say this, I saw one and it was $897 a square foot.
Woo.
There is no way that is going to appraise. There's just no way. The problem is when you run the numbers on that cabin and take the rental into account, there's no way that an investor can make that work either.
Sure.
So not only is it really high priced from just a appraisal standpoint, as an investment, it's still high priced. And so I have investors also that are just, I'm not going to pay more than what it appraises for. I'm not going to pay more than what the value is. And, you know, when we do an appraisal on an investment cabin, they do take the rental income into account.
How far back? Because we talked about like a boom year. Like how far back would they go?
So they actually, my understanding isn't, I am not an appraiser. My understanding is that they will look at current market conditions.
Okay.
So they'll do it based on what is happening at the
now.
time,
Okay.
whenever they do the appraisal. So it still has to make sense. Now, before we got on here, I was just telling you guys I submitted an offer for a client of mine. The offer we submitted was $250,000 under the list price. Do I think we were going to win that offer? I didn't. Am I going to fight for my client and represent that offer? Absolutely. As a result of that offer and the information that I supplied along with it, such as what it's doing on rental, you know, all the justifications that you send along with an offer like that, they actually came back and counted us $75,000 under the list price. So, and that had only been on the market like 2 or 3 days.
Right.
So they knew that they were reaching for the stars with that price. Now, maybe somebody will come along and be willing to pay that. It could happen. But just by virtue of the fact that they dropped $75,000 in their counter offer to us immediately tells me that they knew that they were shooting for the stars. It also told me that there was some room to move, that there was some negotiation that was available. And so I don't think that necessarily just because something is priced high, there are absolutely those sellers that are, this is my price and I'm not selling if I don't get my price. Fair play, that's fine, you know. But there are those sellers that are reaching for the stars, but they're willing to negotiate. So I really think it's important in this market to make sure that the numbers are working correctly. It's not so much about what that list price is.
Right.
It's about what works for your residential client, which may be an over asking price offer. It may be an appraisal gap because it's the house of their dreams and they're willing to pay that. But it may also be that it's not quite that house and they're willing to buy it, but they want it to pay for it at value. So
yeah, I mean, it always comes back to leverage, you know, who has the leverage, you know, especially in, you know, multiple offers. One thing I will say, though, that I've had the most success with is if there is a property that's been listed for a while, and a while here could be 5 days. You know,
Right.
sadly, that's a while.
Yes.
I will try to get an offer in, especially if we're going to negotiate, a lower price. I will try to get that offer in before the sellers wise up and do a price reduction, because what you have to understand is when you do a price reduction, a lot of times that will generate activity.
Yes.
And if you're trying to get a property, under asking price, again, you have the leverage at this point. So get it in there as soon as you can, because if you wait, then you're going to have 2 other people that come and look at it. Then there might be another offer, and then all of a sudden, instead of going down on the price, you're going to have to come back up on the price.
Because you're in multiple offers again.
Exactly. You
Yes.
lost your leverage. So
Right. Yes.
yeah, I think that's the biggest tip from me if you want to get a home under asking price.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I mean, you've just got to try.
Yeah,
You really, it's absolutely worth the try. As long as, you've had that conversation with your clients and they understand, where the sellers are in this market. But until you actually submit an offer, and I say this to all of my clients, until you submit an offer, we really don't know what that seller's motivation is. I've had listing agents come back to me after having accepted a lower offer saying, oh my goodness, I wish I'd known that my seller was willing to drop that much. I would have priced it lower and I could have got them more money.
We used to, I always used to advise my clients, and this is back with a normal market, because people would always want to start high and work their way down. But I promise you, if you price it right, you will go up, not down, because it's the darndest thing. I mean, there's so many people that don't want to pay more, and anyone can go online now and look at your neighborhood and see what houses are selling for. So if it's overpriced, people know it, And man, that's one of those things, that you can really shoot yourself in the foot by going too high.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had it happen before where, when, like you say, when they've dropped a price and the house has been on the market months, so a long time in this market, and as soon as they dropped the price, multiple offers, and we were back up at what the original price was.
You can go on Zillow, and I'm not a huge Zillow fan, but you can see how many people have saved a property, and if the number is very high, that's what they're waiting on. They're waiting on you to drop that price. As soon as you do, they get alerted, and then boom, you got tons of action going on it. So
yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
for the most part, sellers are trying to capitalize on this market, and it is a business, and they're trying to make money.
Of course.
But there are some that are in situations where they have to sell because of a familial status change, and they want that person to care about the home just like they did. And it's not all about the dollar sign.
Right. Yes.
And so those are situations where you can get a home at asking or under, depending on your situation.
There's a great love letter moments
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah. And really, you've just got to try, right? You just don't know until you actually put something in writing and put it in front of that seller. You really just don't know what their motivation is.
Exactly.
I think sometimes sellers are being ill-advised by their agents about what they could get, and maybe they're asking a higher price, higher than that seller maybe even would or is interested in getting at the advice of that agent. And so instead of pricing it and listening to the seller, the agent saying, oh, I can get you $50,000 more.
Right.
And I think something else that's really important is just, and it always comes back to communication, but if you communicate with the listing agent, they'll let you know what's going on. I've had several conversations with agents where I've said, hey, I know that you guys are priced a little high, and I'm sure you know this too because of, how long it's been on the market. What do you think is the reasons? And then sometimes they'll tell you, because sometimes it may not, sometimes it might be a problem with the property. It might be that there's a commercial building behind it. It might be they've got foundation issues. It might be, a whole plethora of things. And, having that communication really helps, and it can help you to, figure out what the best thing to advise your client to do would be,
because they might need something that is not important to your seller, and they're like, I totally will give that, but to them, it makes or breaks that deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it could even be, it could be a situation where, they're talking about doing a price reduction, and then what you can do then is tell the listing agent, like, hey, I think I'm going to have you an offer. Why don't you wait on that price reduction? Because then, you don't have to worry again about losing the leverage.
Right. Don't you love it when listing agents tell you they're just about to do a price reduction? Because you might have been going down 10, now we're going down 15 exactly.
or more.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's great, but, you have to have that communication to be able to figure those things out.
Yeah.
Another thing, too, that I've learned is, you will get the buyer who's like, I am not getting into this bidding war. I'm just not doing it. I'm not doing it. And it's like, okay, so what that means to me is, what I heard you say is, we're going to go look at new construction then. Let's go.
Right.
And that's help in knowing builders, knowing what they're willing to do, what their wait list times are, how we are able to get on those wait lists. And that's worked for me in a couple of cases.
Yes.
That's absolutely a good way. Well, there's some builders now in our area that are doing multiple offers and best and final, but there are also those builders now that they'll take listing price, you don't have to go above it, and in a lot of cases they have enough inventory where you can get in on it. I mean, I've got 2 new construction homes pending now, and neither one of them were multiple offer situations. They were both just, we wrote up the offer, they got it for asking price, and all was good.
You're right. New construction, I love new construction.
I do too,
I do quite a lot of new construction. I mean, the only thing with new construction is that you've got to wait. If somebody wants something now, new construction is just not the way to go. But if you're willing to wait a little bit, and sometimes it can be new construction where the builder's holding the finance, sometimes new construction where the buyer has to hold the finance. If the buyer is willing to hold the finance, you can definitely get into a home or a cabin, so in my experience, such that when it's finished, you've got a little bit of equity in that build, because you're the one that's been taking the risk. So new construction, I'm really, if you've got time, if you're not pressed, is a great way to go. It's also a great way to go if there's something specific that you want that is just not on the market, with inventory being what it is.
Well, and talking about building equity, it's a great way to do that as well, especially if you can get in early, in a neighborhood, because each phase they do, the prices go up. The neighborhood never goes down in value. So if you're one of the first, few homes in the neighborhood, or just the first phase, you're probably going to be sitting pretty good in a couple of years when they finish it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's new construction is definitely a great way to go. And in the investment side of things, I work with a few different builders who have very different style cabins. There's some that tend to build more contemporary, that others are more just, spec build. The same cabin that just, tried and tested and it just works. And then I've got to work with a couple of builders that are custom. Now the custom obviously, is costing you that little bit more, but then you're getting exactly what you want, and so there's a whole array of ways that people, I think, can still get in to an investment or to a home at a decent price. They don't have to be over asking. It doesn't have to be over appraisal. If they can be flexible on what they want, if they're maybe willing to do some repairs sometimes, if they've got a little bit of time and they're willing to wait for new construction, even in this market, I think there's still opportunity for that.
I think the best thing you can do if you're trying to find a deal is look for those properties that have been listed for a while. And even the new listings, probably the best thing to do with those, I would think, is talk to your agent and have them reach out, because if someone lists a property today, or maybe it was listed yesterday, and you're going to try to get a deal on it, you need to figure out how much leverage you have in the deal.
Right.
If they don't have an offer, then maybe you can go in with that,
Right.
below asking.
Yeah.
But if they do have an offer, I probably wouldn't waste my time. Maybe give it a couple days, or maybe, I don't know, maybe have a conversation with the agent to figure out, what that other offer looks like.
Absolutely. Yeah. The time on the market, that's what I think where it is. Those that have been out there a little bit, you can still get in there.
Yeah.
It's so funny though, because as an agent, you look on there and you're like, it says 12 days. What's wrong with it?
And often it's the price, right?
Yeah.
It's just the price. It's just the price.
Yeah, my favorite ones to get to are the ones that have been waiting for a minute. They were on the market, and then, or they went off the market, then they're back on the market because of inspection. Because then, you just kind of know that they know they're overpriced and know they've got some problems. So then you can really negotiate with
Those
them.
back on the market.
Yeah.
Yes, gotta love those ones. Yes, back on the market.
And like you said, it opens that door for negotiations at that point, which is what I think. Me as an agent, that's one thing I love, is that back and forth. Let's find that common ground. So not just whatever you want. Well, please take it.
Right.
Yeah. You don't have to be so desperate.
Exactly. I had one. It was the day it hit the market that we just got under contract at asking. And I was surprised we got it. I told my buyer that, but the only thing they asked for on the counter was, instead of a 14-day inspection, was 10 days. He said, "Do you think you can do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can get inspection tomorrow." Cool. And it was 4 days move up on a close. That was it. I mean, nothing
Things
really.
that you can accommodate.
Yeah. And it was I went back to my buyer. I was like, "We got it." Heck yeah. But kind of like you said, do I believe in it? Not necessarily on this one, but we got it. And hell yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
And that's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it comes
is.
down to that communication too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's exciting for your clients too, because they get to feel like they got a good deal,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it doesn't hurt to try.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. That's
Doesn't
what it
hurt
is.
to try. I mean, all they can say is no.
Yeah.
So.
Well, awesome. Great points, guys. That was very informative. Thank you for listening to our podcast. We're the East Tennessee group of United Real Estate, close to everything but miles from ordinary.